It's actually a great time of day to be doing this. I did one in the middle of the day and it was so bright up here. It was like unbearably bright.
Yeah. This is nice.
But yeah, this works. So, Bryan.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming and talking to me.
It's my pleasure.
Are you warm enough?
Yeah.
You feeling good?
I'm a Canadian.
You're a Canadian.
This is
We've got Adi out of frame.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of things.
Providing entertainment.
Providing some.
Keeping us aligned.
Keeping us honest.
Honest, yeah.
So I just want to start with some basics, like your name, where you're from, what you do.
Yeah.
I know that's a
good question. So my name, Bryan Cunningham. I'm from close to Toronto, Ontario, Canada, which is a city called Kitchener, right next to Waterloo. Back home we call it Kitchener-Waterloo, all one. It's the home of BlackBerry. Small tech town, grew up there, took off for school for 5 years and then ended up back there. Never thought I would. What do I do? So right now I'm in a transitionary phase. And I'm looking for, as we've discussed earlier, I'm looking for kind of alignment on like what I'm going to do next. Don't know if that's going to be launching my own business, pursuing some sort of vibe coding model to test out some problems and solutions, or if I go back into industrial design, which is what I've done for the vast majority of my career. So that's what I went to school for. Or UX design, which is what I've been doing for the past 4 years, focusing on the digital side. So I'm in that transitionary period right now, trying to figure out what I'm going to do next.
It's not a bad place to be, though. I mean, there's a lot of possibility and opportunity and creativity that emerges in that space when you're in between two things, especially when you're in between what sounds like somewhere that held a lot of structure and was somebody else's dream and a place that could be your dream. So, I mean, it's exciting.
Yeah.
We're obviously on chapter. We're in Namibia. We're in Swakopmund.
Yeah. Beautiful Namibian magic.
Absolutely, as David keeps saying. We've been here for a month.
Yep.
And I'm just curious, from your perspective, like, what even is Wi-Fi Tribe?
Oof, what is Wi-Fi Tribe? Well, I mean, I think, the thing that you're probably going to hear from anyone is like community. I think I don't know, I liken it to like adult summer camp almost, like I was thinking about this today, like, as I'm sure or you've heard, like the friendships that you make when you're traveling are very different from the friendships you make at home. They're very powerful, and the only thing that I can kind of think it's relative to or reflective of would be a scenario like, summer camp, but as adults, working professionals, all working remotely, adventuring together, going through some weird ups and downs, having the privilege to do what we do. And I think Wi-Fi Tribe allows, the forum and encourages the community for people to be able to do that together. And I think it's similar to like a nomad in camp, there's rules and there's, somewhat structured kind of landscapes, but the company itself, I think, just facilitates these beautiful locations that have, either up and coming or, rooted travel and touristic kind of adventures and culture and I think Wi-Fi Tribe facilitates the organization of certain types of people that will work well together, living this lifestyle that we live for 30 days. and then through that, I think the individuals basically reflect back the values of what the company attempts to moderate and create or host, essentially. But I think it's kind of like adult summer camp, just in new locations all around the world. And it's a pretty beautiful thing. You know, it's not an easy thing to do, you know, and certainly a hard thing to comprehend prior to doing it. And it's amazing.
When I was thinking about what you were saying about adult summer camp, it's quite a beautiful way to describe it. And immediately I was like, summer camp. And then I was like, well, in a way, we kind of lose our sense of play, our sense of spontaneity, our sense of freedom. And I feel like that's something that you see a whole bunch of grown adults like rediscover that childhood joy when you're on 100%. Chapter. I mean, we've been hanging out now for a whole month. Mm-hmm. I've seen people with jobs and insurance policies monkeying around in the middle of the desert, having the best time, camping, cooking together, laughing, singing songs, you know,
crying,
you
know, being afraid of insects,
being afraid of
breaking down, you know, having your tire pop in the middle of a desert. Exactly.
Yeah. So if I was to describe Wi-Fi Tribe to my family and friends, how would I do it?
If you were to describe it, I think, like, you know, the easiest way is to make like associations and relate it to other things, because I think nomading in and of itself is hard to comprehend for those who have never done it, and this type of travel, you know, for a month and going from place to place, like as an adult, is also kind of hard to comprehend. And it's usually seen through the lens of social media, which, you know, certainly doesn't encapsulate what we experience on Chapter.
Yeah.
And so I think I would, you know, probably explain it, you know, similar to things that people understand, like, you know, college living or dorm life living, with the application of, you know, responsibilities, accountability, jobs for the most part, and kind of discourse around the topics of interest that are related to those individuals, which often are, you know, culture, travel, like work and careers, as we, you know, saw today in the Skillshare. And so I think I would just describe it as like a remote community living with a collection of, you know, nomad travelers, or not always nomads. Like sometimes somebody's just doing a month, that, you know, 2 months, that are all living, you know, in the same space with similar interests but diversified perspectives. Yeah,
I love that. That emphasis on perspective, I think, is really important. That's something that I've personally taken a lot of across this last month, is like getting to see the world through the eyes of so many different people from different backgrounds, as we all experience something new for the first time. It creates this space where there's so much bonding that takes place. You really get to know someone pretty well. You see them at their best, you see them at their worst. You see them having not showered in 3 days in the middle of a desert. You mentioned something when you were describing what you described there, which was, you said, you know, when you're on a chapter. What is that?
Right.
What's a chapter?
Yeah. And I realized, because this is hilarious, like every single time, like we're so used to saying these things, right? Like it's like Wi-Fi Tribe kind of dialect and lingo, right? So I explain, like, to people back home, I'll often say, oh, you do a chapter, then you go somewhere else, and they're like, the hell is a chapter? And then I forget and have to explain that, you know, a chapter is that.
It's how we bring the cult together.
It's how you bring the cult together. Yeah. I also have to explain why it's not a cult. And then as I explain it, they say it sounds more like a cult. And I'm like, it's the most beautiful cult. You know, it's an amazing cult. And yeah, I would say like, so a chapter is like a month-long stint where we're all, you know, living together in the same place, you know, like in some cases under the same roof, like we have here, you know, it's all one place. In others, I think it's like different spots, but essentially it's like month-long stints where everyone is, you know, going and living and working in one spot for a month, like summer camp.
Good analogy.
Yeah.
Really good analogy.
Yeah.
And obviously you touched on how there was this kind of sense of belonging and alignment between people, and that Wi-Fi Tribe does this job of kind of curating the kind of people you'll find yourself doing these chapters with. Who would you say this is really for? What kind of person?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I think, like, in all honesty, I think it's like for a lot more people than currently do it. I think I know a lot of people that would love it and flourish, but will never take the leap. So I think, like, if I was to kind of describe to people that aren't aware of Wi-Fi Tribe is like those individuals that at some point in their life, or maybe it's been a calling kind of their whole life and didn't realize it until remote work kind of came along. I think it's for the people that want an alternative lifestyle and they're driven by different things and not afraid to break the mold. You know, I think I've had some conversations more along the lines of like, well, this is kind of curated versus when you're backpacking solo and going from hostel to hostel, or maybe not hostels, maybe it's even more remote than that, that's real travel. And it's like, you know, I don't think one is real and one is not. However, I do think that the kind of collective group of people that will pursue, you know, month-long trips and go from place to place typically have a certain perspective on how they want to live their lives that is not in alignment with what typically happens for me back in Canada, for many others back in the US and Europe, where it's, you know, kind of this succession of events that are pre-designed. And I think the people that challenge that mentality, challenge the norm of, you know, what is a life worth living, what is happiness, what is meaning, what is purpose, why can't you do that while, you know, getting to travel the world? And it's immense privilege. And I think the people that have that and are lucky enough to be able to do it and then have that mindset that they, you know, have challenged kind of the norms of like what it means to live a meaningful, happy, adventurous life. I think those are the people. Now, I think deep down we are all those people, but there's layers of, you know, filters and blocks and fears and of course, you know, that's not to, you know, like not to state that anyone can do this, because of course, you know, it comes with some, you know, privileges that the vast majority of the world doesn't have.
There's a cost attached to it.
There's a cost attached to it. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So we know who it's for.
Mm-hmm. Who's it not?
If you had to give me 5 reasons not to do this.
Not to do it.
Not to do this.
5 reasons. Damn.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
What are those reasons? Don't do it if.
Yeah. They're all going to be good. Like, I'm somehow going to flip it. A reason not to do it. Like, man, I think if you are, I want to say an introvert, but I don't know that that's true, because as we've seen, you know, sometimes on chapter, introverts kind of, you know, this is where they get their community, because it is a community and there's a diverse group of people. I would say don't do it if, you know, your drive in life is kind of climbing corporate structures leveraging systems in place for maybe strictly monetary gain, you know, maybe that. Like if that's your comfort zone, I don't think this is for them. I think I would say I wouldn't do it if, you know, you have kind of strong attachments to home bases, and like, I guess, family. Like if you're at a time in your life where, you know, that you need to be grounded with those types of relationships, I don't think this is for you. I think you can get a different form of that here, which is incredible and more powerful in many ways.
Sense of belonging.
Sense of belonging, exactly. But I think, you know, I wouldn't go on a journey like this when, you know, you have
a newborn.
A newborn, you know, like you might be annoying there is a sense of community, but I think we draw the line sometimes. A baby I mean, you know what? A baby would have a great time.
So, it'd be well looked after. Actually.
Well looked after for sure.
Be super doted on.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, I think like, I don't know, like having property makes it a little bit more difficult in some locations. Like I just recently sold one of my properties, and I think it's, you know, largely due to the fact that I want this over that, you know. And it's not that you can't have both, but I think if you're in a situation where you are trying to leverage those types of assets in terms of investment, build that structure in your life, this isn't for you. And I think, you know, I made the decision to sell because this is for me. So I would say, yeah, like, you know, maybe if you're kind of, if you have those, like, you know, anchors, dependencies and anchors, it's not for you. But I don't know, I can't really think of like I think I know people that I would say this wouldn't work for them. And I think it's people that are like hyper concentrated in their comforts.
Yeah.
You know, that they don't want to break out of the shell. Now, again, as I mentioned, I think everyone deep down does. It's a human experience and concept, but not everyone will do that in their lives, and I think that's okay. And this is not for them. You know, there's a lot of challenges and nuances that come with this type of living, and that is, you know, some people close that chapter, if you will. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think I like clearly communicated that, but I don't know. You can figure it out in the editing process.
No, I think you did. I think it makes sense. It's like basically, you know, this isn't for you if you're needed to be geographically located in one place all the time. Obviously, this won't work for you. We're spending a month at a time in a certain place somewhere in the world with a group of other people.
Yeah.
I think also, you know, like it's for people who have that like adventurous spirit.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
The inverse of that wouldn't enjoy this.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So when you were like joining Wi-Fi Tribe, did you have any hesitations?
No. So I mean, maybe some. Yeah. Like I think I joined Wi-Fi Tribe when I had started nomading for my first time 2 years ago. In 2024, and it was recommended by another member of Wi-Fi Tribe, and it was
not
large.
A cult.
Yeah, not a cult. Yeah, not a pyramid scheme. It was they didn't get anything from it. I don't think. And I think for me at that time, it was like I wanted to go to Guatemala. I wanted to see volcanoes.
You went to Antigua?
Antigua, yeah. Amazing.
I really want to go there.
My first 2 chapters are just like dynamite. They're the best. Like Antigua and Namibia, it's like, I don't know. Dude. I don't know if it can, you know, get better from here, you know?
Bolivia.
Oh, well, hey, it's September, right?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, I'm going to sign up. So, so I think my hesitations at the time were, I think the same as my hesitations prior to staying at co-livings and nomading for the first time. And it was, will I be able to get my work done? Is the collective group so large and community driven that like you don't have your own kind of independent space and time to unwind, and which I think is like critical for a lot of people. Even myself, who, you know, I think people interpret me as an extrovert, like I still love that time to be quiet, and I was worried about that. And also, like, you know, who the individuals were going to be. And I think like you put a lot of trust in the organization to curate and facilitate that community. And when a community could make or break because it's dependent on it, where as co-living you can come and go as you please, there's no month-long chapter, you're not stuck with the same people. There's certainly some trepidation and hesitation regarding that. But outside of that, it was, you know, for me, the first time I was like, why wouldn't I? Like, oh, wow. If it sucks, it sucks. Like, I'm going to climb a volcano, you know, like, fuck that. I'm going to do it. So, I love that. Yeah, like, I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm doing it one way or the other. And like, if it's not a match, it's not a match. But that's why we do it, right? We like to explore and you know, live and learn and keep going.
It's very obvious to me why you're here. But I'll put the question to you, like, why are you here? Why are you here in terms of Wi-Fi Tribe? Why are you here in Namibia?
Yeah. So Wi-Fi Tribe, like, I mean, I think, so I'm a little bit older than I think most people in Wi-Fi Tribe. Some of my most favorite people in Wi-Fi Tribe, I'm older than. And I think I kind of, you know, I come from the era. And based on my profession...
You don't look a day over 25, Bryan.
Thank you. Thank you. Buttering me up. I love it. So like my career was industrial design, and you know, still is. And that's, you know, you're building physical things. I was going back and forth to China all the time. I had to be in office. I'm testing with humans. I'm building prototypes. I'm constantly evaluating and observing human beings and elements whereby they're using these devices and tools and interacting with physical objects in their manufacturing environment. That is very difficult to do remote. And it was only until COVID and I pivoted careers that, you know, I saw this whole new kind of opportunity to modify my lifestyle. And so as somebody who's a little bit older, I think I kind of have gone through these steps in succession of like careers and building your career. And as I've gone through that journey, and I have, depending on how you look at it, been fortunate enough or unfortunate to not have had a long-term relationship or a family or be married and have kids and dependencies that has kept me locked down. And so I think as I've gone through that journey, I've realized that the thing that was missing more than anything else was a sense of purpose and meaning, and living, you know, a fulfilling and happy life. Not to say that I wasn't happy back home or doing what I was doing before, but it's not a life that is full.
Back home, like Canada?
Back home in Canada, yeah. You know, you have there's lots of benefits to it, but if you can travel the world, if you can go to new places and see things that, like, a fraction of the population has the privilege and ability to see, it would be a shame in your one life, you know.
Why wouldn't you do it?
Why wouldn't you do it? You know, and I think, you know, I had fears like anyone, and you know, I had dependencies back home, and I love my friends and family, and I love my community there, and but I think like it was just a no-brainer to be like, if I can execute on the foundational elements of my career and job and perform at the same level, why would I do it in one small city or one town for, the rest of my life when, you can, instead of, shutting down the laptop, going to the gym at home, you can shut down your laptop and go to a gym by the ocean, by palm trees, with new people. Sometimes dogs are in the gym. That doesn't happen back home,
Yeah.
Sometimes it's outdoors and you're lifting concrete. That's incredible. Like that's, I think that's a human experience that we're meant to have. So to me, it's just a no-brainer. It's you, instead of watching TV or driving and going to a grocery store, it's like this supplants that and replaces it in ways that are so much more fulfilling and have meaning, and the community is there, which is interesting.
Yeah.
That doesn't always happen with co-living. Sometimes you're more independent. That's okay. But I think that's why I joined for sure. And then the second aspect of that, which is why I'm here in Namibia, is I've only done 2 chapters in 3 years, almost 2.5 years. And they've both been, places that are very unique relative to the landscapes, geography, adventure, outdoors kind of aspects.
Which knowing you now, I realize you really enjoy.
I love it. Yeah, you've seen me, like I'm one of those people that are monkeying around on the campsites and like, that's just like, to me, the most incredible thing when like, you can climb sand dunes at 5 a.m. and you can sleep in a tent under the stars, and some of the most incredible stars you will ever see in your life, with a bit of fear knowing that there might be wild animals like hyenas and elephants just like roaming around. That's amazing.
That's a cool thought.
Yeah, so I think Namibia was just like, it kind of was representative or reflective of that month-long trip. And it has certainly not disappointed. It's the most magical place, and it's been jam-packed on the weekends with just lots of activities. And every single time I do one, I'm just blown away. It's so surreal and so incredible. So I think that specifically is why I'm in Namibia. Then, of course, you then attach that to Botswana, Zambia. You do a loop around there. Then I'm going to Cape Town after for a month and a half.
I'll see you there.
I will see you there for sure. Gonna make you some good food.
I'll take you around. We'll go to all the best places.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
You touched on the weekends. Take me through the weekends. What have we done while we've been here?
Yeah.
Weekend 2 to weekend this last weekend.
Right. Yeah.
Where did we go? What did we get up to? What was the drama?
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, this is like, it's been so, like, it feels like I've been here forever,
like 2 years.
2 years. Like each weekend, there's just been so many things that it's hard to think that we just arrived, less than a month ago. Each weekend we have, created this like convoy of cars and trucks amongst the group, upwards of 25 people, and somehow managed to corral everyone, get the necessary food items, organize the lodging, whether it's camping or glamping or an actual beautiful lodge. And each weekend we have taken off, average between, I don't know what. Well, I guess it's been between 2.5 hours to 5.5 hours, depending on where we're going in the country. Driven north, driven south, driven northwest, got stuck in a bunch of those places. And each weekend has been a specific destination that I think, are activities and adventures based on that specific location in the country, like going on game drives to see wild animals, being in locations like Spitzkope, where you have these incredible rock formations and mountains that also have these beautiful starry skies at night, which, you can camp at. Also wild animals around there too. Seems like they're everywhere. And then, driving along the coast, like just yesterday morning, this wasn't a weekend, but yesterday morning we went on an adventure, down the dunes along Sandwich Harbor. But the weekends have been like on Saturday morning, the whole group gets together, we all take off. We arrive at one of these unique destinations and then have, a list of activities for the subsequent 36 to 48 hours, depending on whether it's a long weekend, people can take it off, whether they have a job. and then somehow, that fleet of our community comes home, depending on what they need to do, on the Mondays or the Tuesdays. And if your tire gets flat and your second tire gets flat, sometimes there's a hiccup in the way. Sometimes there's people panicking. Sometimes you've got to flag people down and try and go get gasoline because people run out of gas. And I think in the moments it can be highly stressful, and some people respond in ways that, are very emotional. Some people you see their leadership skills kind of take place and come out a little bit more. But then when you have the stories at the end, it's incredible. So each weekend, we've gone to these different places. We've had activities like climbing sand dunes, camping, marshmallows. We had a big. You were manning the bride grill, right?
Yep.
You were cooking up a storm. In Spitzkope, watching the sunset.
You made a bunch of tzatziki and a whole bunch
chicken
of
souvlaki, tofu souvlaki.
Yep.
Had a massive, whole crew.
I feel like we brought
dinner.
Greece to Namibia.
Yeah.
For one night.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. So each weekend we've just done the most incredible stuff, and it's I think what people would communicate as like the highlights of Namibia in terms of like adventures and activities, and we're able to kind of, with the alignment and organization, like execute on them in 36 to 48 hours, and then back to our hotel and the city where we can get back to work and execute on the things that we need to do during the work week.
Anything really memorable that sticks out for you? Like a core memory, something that you'll look back on in like 10, 20 years time and be like, damn, that was insane.
Yeah, honestly, this chapter has been just filled with it. Like every weekend, sometimes like multiple times during the week. I think like the first weekend was incredibly special, staying in Palmbeg and doing the kind of self-drive safari tours through the conservation areas or the reserves, the reservations. That was incredible. Like, I think the community aspect plays into that a lot, because that's when we're first starting to learn about each other and build that, connection. And so you feel these gravitational pulls between each individual while you're experiencing something novel and new for the first time. And that does something magical, right? Like that's not something that you would experience in other places. So I think that, the first weekend, the drives, watching the sunset, like this is like one of my favorite sunsets I've ever seen in my life. Like I don't even remember the name of the conservation area, but the first weekend, and we did the self-drive.
Oh, Palmbach.
Palmbach, yeah. And watching the sunset over kind of the landscape, is just so different than like most sunsets that you see. Like Africa is different, and then when you're in Palmbach and like in this area where there's wild animals, and I'm sitting on the roof rack of a chimney watching the sun go down with these people that, I'm learning to love and have this connection with. And then there's just these like, kind of grass plains like in the desert, and another two people are having these heartfelt conversations about life. And it felt like a dream, and I think I will never forget that moment. I will never forget that sunset, and I don't think I'll ever forget that feeling. And the craziest thing is, like, each weekend I'm like, well, this is very similar. So I think like the dunes, that sunset, some of the moments, you know, of driving down the Skeleton Coast after the second flat tire, you know, thinking, hey, there's hyenas around. And we came here because we're so excited to see lions that have learned how to swim to kill seals and trap tourists between their car and the ocean. And we're sitting here with a flat tire, our second one. We can't find the jack, you know, and we don't know how we're going to get out of this scenario. We did, of course. We found the jack thanks to, you know, one of the other people, which is the power of the community. They thought differently than me, and they were like, maybe it's here. Found the jack, propped it up, switched the tires, and continued to drive down the Skeleton Coast, you know, after about an hour delay and some weird hiccups and fears and people being upset. I don't think I'll ever forget that either. You know, like that scenery, of course, is second to none, and it's different. Like I've never seen anything like that, you know, in my life.
So desolate.
Yeah. And driving, just constantly driving, you know, people singing in the car and like having the, you know, the best time, just kind of feeling free and driving down a road. It's all plains. There's nobody anywhere. Like you see more animals than you probably see people. True. You know, so, and it's called the Skeleton Coast, so there's a little bit of fear there, which is nice. I like it. If you're not scared, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, man. It's such a like moon landscape. It looks like you're in a different, like you're on Mars or something.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's really cool.
What was the moment on this trip where you felt the strongest sense of community, where you look back and you go like, wow, I was really part of something?
I think honestly it's the weekend trips, because it requires such a sense of coordination, like a multitude of different people taking on tasks, leadership, guidance, facilitation, you know, people encouraging you to wake your ass up at 4:45, like when you're cold and you're like, no coffee, how am I going to climb a dune, or how am I going to do this hike? I think that sense of community, knowing that we're all there for each other, like knowing that we're all going to have dinner, you know, and you're on the grill. I don't know what I was doing at that time.
You had pre-prepped everything, though.
Pre-prepped, right. But that sense, you know, where it's like, and then people show love. You can feel it. It's like someone will just walk up and hug you as you're prepping something. And the prep going, for example, that weekend, the prep going into that, like I love to cook, as you know, and we have a commercial kitchen here, which is like the best. That you know, that's a dream for anyone that like loves to cook. And getting everyone to come down, I was like, I need 5 volunteers to do prep. And they're like, yes, chef, yes, chef. You know, you're prepping the tofu, you're cutting the chicken, you're doing the marinade, and everyone had a job, and it was like clockwork, and we were having a blast. Somebody had a glass of wine, somebody played music, people were singing. Like, it's work, but when you're around a community and you have that connection, I think all of that leading up to that weekend and then having the dinner in the most surreal place, like, I think that is for sure the biggest sense of community. It was, you know, that's when I was like, this is awesome. You know, the whole is always greater than the sum of its parts. And like, that's when you really see it.
Absolutely. I reflect on what you're saying. And I was thinking to myself, even when we nearly ran out of fuel on this, because we came down from the Skeleton Coast to Swakopmund a day before you.
Yeah.
We nearly ran out of fuel. And 2 of the other cars, one of them actually did run out of fuel. And even when I was slipstreaming one of the trucks to try to save fuel just so that we could get to the next place where we could find fuel, and we were kind of like hitting the red on the fuel meter, I was thinking to myself, yeah, we'll probably be okay. Like, we got great people.
Yeah.
There's food in the back. Like
how awesome is that?
That's so cool. We'll be fine, right? You know?
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Which is quite a rare thing. I think anyone traveling by themselves, you really are freaking out at that point.
Yeah.
Because you are completely on your own.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So reflecting on that, I was like, wow, it's a really beautiful way to see the world.
Yeah.
With the support of so many other people.
100%. Yeah.
You touched on that you were planning to do a little loop and then wind up in Cape Town.
Yeah.
Are you doing that with tribers? You know, do you have any future plans that you're traveling with tribers?
Yeah. So I kind of knew I was going to do that loop regardless. I didn't know how or like what the medium would be, if I'd be intense, if I would, you know, try and go more affordable or lodging. And one of the tribers had actually threw it out there to the entire group prior to chapter. I didn't know a single person on this chapter. So I think I was a little bit hesitant because I'm like, you know, am I going to do this myself or am I going to like connect with people? My assumption was I would, and I did. And
really?
Yeah, just a few, you know, a solid 25 people. So I'm doing the trip that was proposed by a triber prior to the trip, and we're all going to go for 6 nights, 7 days. I am so looking forward to it. And
what are you doing?
So I don't fully know the itinerary yet, but we're flying to Mon in Zambia, I believe. Or is that Zimbabwe? I don't know. We're flying to Mon, and then, or is that Botswana? I don't know. We're flying somewhere, and we're going to the Okavango.
That's Botswana.
Yeah. River Delta. We're gonna stay, I think, closer to the River Delta for 2 nights, and then I think we're gonna go more to like the central area in Kobe, I believe. And then we're just going to be doing, you know, game drives and safaris, I think both wetland and dry land. And then we have these beautiful lodges that we're staying at, you know, in the evenings. And then there's like inter safari flights, I think, happening. And then after these 6 nights and doing these safaris, we're gonna go to Victoria Falls, and do that for, I don't know how long everybody's staying. There's 2 people that are actually going there for 2 weeks. We're gonna meet up with them from this chapter, which is amazing. So we've now, you know, connecting with at least 6 people, you know, that we all met, you know, on chapter. And then after that, I already have a place with a couple of friends in Greenpoint and Cape Town. So I'm super pumped to see them. And then what's awesome is so many people from this chapter are going to be there. You're going to be there.
Celine will be there.
Yeah, Celine will be there. So it's going to be exciting to, like, you know, now have those people that I've connected with that I consider my friends and my community to hang out and explore and continue kind of creating memories with. So, and then after that, like, I got to go home to just deal with some stuff. And to be honest, you know, it's my one place I sold, as I mentioned, so that I've got to finalize. And then I'm going to move the remaining stuff out of my home, my condo, and permanently rent that. And then I don't know where I'm going. And then I think for the summer, figure that out, explore, learn, go somewhere. I have no idea. I might stay in Canada for a couple of months, you know, test out some new places. But then in September, I think I really want to do Bolivia, potentially Cusco. And then I think I'm going to do, you know, Central and South. I love Central America. I love, you know, surfing in the tropics and the beaches. But I've never done South America. So I'd love to get down to, you know, who knows, Colombia, Rio, maybe go to Carnival and into like January, you know. So it is predicated on a few things, like me making money somehow, because, you know, that severance is running out. Yeah, like I just want to kind of keep going. And I think the last time I did it, I had to go home for a little while, and I was like, do not get stuck. Like, keep going. And I think this time I'm even more set up to do that. So yeah, that's the plans so far. So it's shaping up to be, an incredible year. So
Dude, it's looking like your year.
yeah, I think so.
You said in the beginning when we started talking that like one of the hesitations that you had briefly, aside from like, fuck it, I'm going to do it, was that would you like the people?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, what are the kinds of people that you've met in the tribe, doing the chapters that you've done?
Yeah.
What do they do? What do they like?
Yeah. Yeah, so honestly, you meet a lot of different people, and I think it's amazing because I think like the diversity, going back to what we discussed earlier, that diversity, similar interests maybe, but diversity in perspectives, and similar interests by way of traveling. Everybody, I think, has a lot of different interests, as we've seen, some from gaming to, I've met people that love flags, and they
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage.
AI.
Right? AI, so you get everything, but, diverse perspectives, and from different locations who have had different paths in getting to where they're at. The people that I think you connect with everyone in different ways, but I think in a group that's as large as ours, you kind of find the people that resonate. Maybe it's just during that time of your life. But I think for me, like I met someone on my first chapter that I've since traveled with, outside of Wi-Fi Tribe, because, we really got along. Like I consider him like one of my best friends, and I think he's like, amazing. We match well. We have similar kind of perspectives on like what we want to achieve in life and how we explore things, how, we have work-life balance, and we both like to do things like climb mountains and mountain bike and go to the gym and stay fit and be present and kind of expand, kind of our mindsets and in day to day and balance that with, enjoying ourselves, right? So I've connected with a lot of those people, and like here, I think, kind of similar. This has been like such an interesting, group, and it's been fun to kind of draw a parallel to my last chapter or other times traveling, and like what are those things that you connect on. And sometimes it's like, just the time of your life, and like somebody's going through something, they connect. It's one moment that you connect on, and then you become close. Sometimes it's because you make coffee every morning and people come down, and then you have these crazy conversations in 30 minutes at breakfast, and that aligns you, and then moving forward you have that, kind of connection and relationship. Sometimes it's you meet people that just blow you away. They kind of show you something that you haven't seen before, and the connection is so like intrinsic and deep and otherworldly that you can't help but just continue, experiencing that with that person. And you don't get that back home in like a regimented, structured life, So I think, like, I don't know how to define the characters of the people, but because they're so diverse, but I think like, I don't know if I don't know how to I don't know how to explain it really. Like, I don't know if I could group the people. Like, everyone has a certain mindset, I think, and it's you're curious, you're adventurous, you're unique in some way, shape, or form. And I think that kind of foundation is already there. But then you find these factions of, specific things that you relate on.
Yeah.
Like I said, it could be activity-based. It could be mindset, purpose, meaning. It could be who knows what. Love. Who knows? Millen, who knows? So
I think you've summed it up.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, I think you do. Yeah.
I think a lot of the sort of fears that people have before coming on chapter are that they'll lose their sort of sense of personal agency. And I mean, you touched on it earlier. For someone who's watching this, who's maybe never been on a chapter before, you've been on 2 chapters now. What does the day-to-day life on a chapter look like from your experience?
Yeah. I mean, it depends. I think like it depends on the location. It depends on the living situation. It depends on, you know, proximity to grocery stores, etc. From the 2 chapters that I've done, that's very similar and it's very well executed. There's no problems getting groceries. There's no issues with cooking, laundry, all of the things that, you know, people do in their day-to-day lives, you can do here. Gym. I was, you know, before traveling, I was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go to a gym. You know, like, am I going to get memberships each time I go somewhere? How am I going to maintain, you know, structure and regiment and stick to my routine? You can do all of that. Like, each day, you can choose for your day to be as structured as you want it to be, and that's allow and will permeate through the community that we have here, and it's respected, which is great. That was one of my fears. And you can also go off the deep end and you can just chill at, like, there's always someone to talk to. There's always, you know, you can always have FOMO. So I think it does require certain mental aptitude and structure that challenges you. You have to be responsible for that. But I think the people that come on chapter typically can do that. You know, you don't get this far not doing that and not being able to figure it out. Is it hard sometimes to not go to dinner when everyone is going to dinner and you know, or a boat ride, and you know that they're dancing and singing and building memories and having a blast? Yeah, it's hard, but I think that's, you know, why it exists the way that it does. And you know, your day-to-day can be the same. Maybe you shift your working hours. Maybe you have no working hours at all. Maybe, you know, like your day then like kind of starts in terms of the work world at 4 p.m. But, you know, it's just, we're pretty malleable creatures and we can adopt and adapt. And I think you get used to it pretty quickly. And as long as you are driven enough and you can build those structures, it's, you know, I managed to find tofu. It happened to be from a Chinese restaurant that I asked to buy from their supplier. But as a vegan who sometimes finds it difficult traveling around when that's not understood, I still managed to execute. And do you have to jump through an extra hoop? Do you have to get creative? Yeah, but that's the beauty of it. You know, that's what makes it awesome. And I think you have inconveniences at home. They just show up differently. And here it's more fun. It's more courageous. It's more, you know, bold. Unique. It's more bold, right? Yeah.
Beautiful. I'm curious. You said you went to Antigua. It was like a bucket list destination for you, and you were kind of like in this space of like, it doesn't really matter. You know, I could like it, I could not like it, but fuck it, I'm going to climb a volcano.
Yeah.
Tell me about Antigua. What was your experience of Antigua like?
I mean, so Antigua was like, it was stunning. So that was kind of the beginning of like my nomad journey, and you know, the first time that I think I had gone back to back to new country to new country to new country. And first of all, the house that we were staying at was like, I don't know if you've seen it. It's unreal. In the backdrop, you have a pool and a garden with a hot tub, these beautiful flowers, and the backdrop is a volcano. Like, and the whole like center is open, you know, like in that terrace area. So that is where you wake up every day and go to sleep every day.
Looks like an Architectural Digest kind of like MTV Cribs.
Yeah, like it's just stunning, right? So then you are within close proximity to a whole bunch of volcanoes, you know, kind of like these unique landscapes. And the town itself is, you know, kind of this like colonial style, cobblestone wobbly sidewalks as you get in Central America, and you have to look where you're walking, otherwise you're going down.
Did it happen?
Of course. Yeah. No, I might have been a little more wobbly because I had a couple wobbly pops, but yeah, you got to watch where you're walking, otherwise, yeah, you're gonna trip. But it was amazing. Like the city itself, like I thought that it was going to be very, very small. So again, as I have like different dietary preferences or choices, I was a bit worried. Not a problem. You know, I could find what I needed to find. Most of it was within walking distance. Stick to my routine. There was a gym nearby. You know, each gym is hilarious to see the differences in each place that you go to. Some are super premium. Some are like outdoor in crazy hot weather where you're like, everything is rusted and like there's dogs like peeing on equipment, you know, like just wild. But you could do it all there. Felt safe. And then same thing, like weekend trips, like we went to Lake Atitlan, and that was just like absolutely stunning. We rented a whole cottage amongst our entire group. And of course, when you break it down with the community, it's far more accessible, it's cheaper. We got like a bus there and back. And then, you know, just had the most amazing weekend experience there with the group, you know, doing community things that like are very camp-like, where you don't get back home. It's like you start playing the telephone game and all of a sudden you're erupting in laughter and dancing around a table, and you know, people are sharing intimate things, you know, and tears are shed and you become closer, and that just builds off each other. So same thing, it was these weekend trips. So Lake Atitlan, and then we did, you know, Acatenango right next to Fuego, did that hike.
The volcanoes.
Most beautiful natural thing I have ever seen in my entire life. Sitting on one volcano with your friends at a fire after eating and hiking up it at, what, 9,000 meter elevation, maybe more? I don't know. Yeah, I think it is more, 13,000. And staring at Fuego erupting every 20 minutes throughout the entire course of the night, with the backdrop of the stars above the clouds and like these little lightnings, like it doesn't get better than that.
Like a movie.
It's like a movie. And, you know, it's an incredible privilege to be able to do it. And so if I lived my life where I didn't go to these places and I said, oh, a hike is hard, or I'm afraid, fuck that.
I'd rather play golf.
Yeah, like get out of here, you know? Like, unless there's lions around, then, you know, maybe that's exciting enough. But alternatively, like, hell no. Like, I've got legs. I can, you know, that's part of the reason why I think your regimen and gym and running and walking and staying healthy is important, because when you get an opportunity to do this stuff, you got to show up and you got to be ready to experience it, because it's a once in a lifetime thing, and it's one of the most beautiful things that this world has to offer. Do it. You know?
It sounds like this adventure has really unlocked something for you. Has your life like changed since you joined Wi-Fi Tribe? And if 100%. Yes, like how?
Yeah, 100%. I think nomading in general has changed it. Traveling in general has changed it. I think Wi-Fi Tribe, you know, specifically with respect to the community and knowing that like it's kind of a safe zone where I know what to expect in terms of having closeness with people and building memories. Now I haven't done like a city chapter, so I don't know if that would be slightly different, but I know what I can expect, and it hasn't failed to deliver. It's changed my life in the sense of like, I no longer view the kind of social constructs in the same way as I used to. I think I always challenged it, and that's what got me here. But I think a lot of people view this lifestyle as like wild and rebellious and crazy and like
a frat party.
Yeah, like a frat party. Like if you know, like are living with 25 other people, and it's like, it pulls from those things, but in all the right ways. And it's also not that crazy, you know, like we are just living in different places for months at a time with a community. Like there's, you know, not much else to it. And I think it's changed the way that I've viewed. I've always had this duality that, you know, is kind of a polarizing concept of like, do I want success or do I want experience? And I think, you know, I've gotten to the point where it's like, well, a life worth living is one of meaning and purpose, and one where you're giving back and you have community. And I think the rest kind of follows. And now I no longer view like, well, how could you meet someone when you're traveling? Or, how could you sustain a relationship or a job? Like, all of that can be figured out, and I think we get too locked into these social constructs of what we think we should do, and much of our life is not even our own identity or concept, it's someone else's. And I think when you join something like this and you experience what you experience, when you see a volcano go off, when you see a sand dune, when you see the stars, when you see a giraffe in the wild, like that shifts how you view everything, because we're just specks in this universe, and we get one life to live and to experience, and that puts it in perspective. And then you see people in these different areas and how they view their lives, and they ask you questions about your life, and it challenges your narratives, because they ask you in the same way that the curiosity of a kid asks you who doesn't get it, and you're left with like, well, why do I do that? So it's completely changed how I kind of perceive that and how I want to pursue the rest of my life. And my sense of like attachment and belonging to the community that I think people don't even realize they miss so much when they don't have it, because they don't realize it's still accessible, And I think when you experience it again, especially this late in life for me, it's like my friends are all having families and like kids and like very different priorities, and I don't have that. So, when you're in your mid-20s, early 30s, often a lot of people still have those close relationships and communities. Mine is different now, and I was missing that. And I think what's hard to understand is that you can still have it through the means of something like this, and it's completely shifted how I view. I didn't think I'd ever be able to live with people again, and like, here I am, loving it, do I think it's disgusting how people wash the dishes? Yeah, but I love them for it, and I can tolerate it. So I think, challenging yourself in those regards is amazing, and it's completely shifted how I look at everything, for sure.
Last question for you before we draw it to a close. Mm-hmm. From your time in Namibia, in Swakopmund, is there anything that you'd like to express gratitude for?
Oh my God, yeah. I've mentioned this a few times, like privilege, for sure. That's a selfish thing, but like hearing the stories, like for example, we were going to Sandwich Harbor yesterday, and I was asking one of the guys who was from Namibia. He was the guide of this company through Sandwich Harbor that did the tours. And I was asking him questions about, how did he grow up, and like, what is Walvish Bay versus Swakopmund and the industry. And like, as each of these people tell their stories, and we're lucky enough that they speak English. In some cases it's so hard to get that if you don't speak the language. They speak English. And so understanding our privilege, because he's talking about how, Walvish Bay was actually South Africa, right? And that is just, 20 minutes away, 25 minutes away. And you can see the dividing line where the fence was. And, what the apartheid, there was segregation. Because I was like, well, was there segregation in Walvish Bay? Because in South Africa there was. And that didn't end until they got independence, and like the apartheid didn't end until 1994, I believe. And in hearing that, that's not that long ago. And knowing that, we're walking around this place that grew up with a totally different set of perspectives on community, color, race, culture, who has the right to own things and who doesn't. I think the vast kind of, perspective of like seeing these grand landscapes that Namibia has with these like stories that they're telling of you know, being in this country and it being so, like, there's very few people here. I think that juxtaposition is so incredibly powerful because you realize how little we are, while at the same time knowing that everything you do has a major impact and it matters, and people's real lives are drastically impacted. We heard the story of the Bushmen and how they were targeted and treated as animals. You know, we heard stories of local tribes and their languages. Lots of people around here speak Damara, that is like the click sounds. You know, back home, you don't really think of these things. And I think I am so incredibly grateful. I mean, I am so incredibly grateful for the privilege that I have to be able to do what I can do. And even more so in Namibia, like I continuously said that all the experiences I've had with the people here, the local people, has been, they're always smiling, they're always so happy, like it is unbelievable. And I am extremely grateful for being able to hear and see that. When we went to the Promised Land, you know, the like not-for-profit that is helping, you know, kids that don't have access to education or food in the ways that many other people do. They were all smiling, you know, like they were orderly, they were lining up for food, like they were asking us questions. They wanted to know what it was like to live somewhere else. Like, you know, sadly, it's hard to extrapolate that when we're, you know, living back home with conveniences and like, you know, the things that bother us are like, oh, my garage door opener didn't work or I have to shovel snow. And then you get here and you're like, some of these people don't even have enough food and yet they're still happy and smiling. And they treat us, you know, as these amazing guests and like with no ill will or malicious intent, nothing. You know, and would I do that back home? Would I be like, yeah, come into my space and like, I'm gonna ask you questions? I'd be like, no, this is my space, like get out. Like it changes and reframes, you know, your perspective. And I'm like so incredibly grateful and in some ways like, you know, kind of sad because I feel like I wanna be able to contribute more or take away less, something, you know, because these people deserve everything and more that I've had in my life, you know, the privilege to experience. So, yeah.
Wow.
Good finish?
No words, man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that you took the time to come and talk to me. And it was actually, I feel like I got to know you a bit better, even though we've spent a whole month together.
Yeah.
It was really beautiful to get to talk to you. And I appreciate your time. And I'll see you in Cape Town.
Yeah, for sure. Fuck yeah.
Cool, man. Fuck yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, this was a great combo. I'm glad you're doing this.
Thanks,
This
man.
is fun.